Okay, friends, tonight we're doing Daf Hashavua Beis. We're now analyzing the Mishnah. The Mishnah on Hashavua Aleph said, this is a chaymer of Shvua over Nedarim. And a chaymer of Nedarim over Shvua is that you could ask for yourself to do a mitzvah. What exactly is the chumrah of Shavua over Nedarim? It says, Zeh chaymer b'shvuas mi b'nedarim. Presumably it's going on the very last case. Namely, it's going on choymer miklal de nederhu. It says it's a chumrah of shvua over neder, but that implies it's a neder. It's just the shvua is more chamar. So then I have a hamuter katani, but the Mishnah says that if you say in this last case, shvua loy oichalach, shvua sha'oichalach, shvua loy oichalach, aser. As opposed to the case of where we said, let's say on Tes Vav Amud Beis, on the bottom, Shvua Carbon Lo Yoichalach, Ha Carbon Shechalach, Carbon Lo Yoichalach, Mutter. So it's not even Chal at all. The Mutter Katani, so it's not a Chumrah of Shvua over Neder. The Neder is not Chal at all. The neder is not chal at all. Says the Gemara, Seifa the idach bava katani. It's going on the seifa of the other case. The other case on Tesvav Beis that says Shvua she'eni yashen she'eni medaber she'eni mahalech aser. If someone takes a shvua, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to speak, I'm not going to walk, it's aser. And then we know that if you take a neder that you're not going to sleep, you're not going to speak, you're not going to walk, it's this is a chumrah of shvuas over nedarim. It's not chal either. No, this is going according to the shita on Tesvav Amud Aleph. Remember the shita of Ravina that it is chal midrabanan. So the chumrah of shvua over nedarim is that if you swear you're going to do something she'ein by mamish, it's chal. But if you take a neder, you're not going to do something she'ein by mamish. It's only chal midrabanan. That's the chumrah of shvua over nedarim. Now, here's the problem. The problem is, what about the chumrah of nedarim over shvua? Namely, if you're going to say that the words chumrah mean that it's chal more by shvua than nedarim, so what does it mean the chumrah of nedarim more than shvua? Let's see. Let's see the Ran. Uvaha mutter katani. Detnan loy oichalach mutter. Al seifa deidach katani la shvua she'ini yashen she'ini medaber she'ini mahalech aser. Uvaha shaykh l'meimar choymer b'shvuas medarim. And this it's shaykh to say a choymer of shvua over nedarim. The nidra miyahavim medrabanan. And neder is chal medrabanan ukravina, like Ravina de Ukma Le'el, who established it earlier, B'Bal Yachal Midrabanan. Ela de Shvua Chamura Mi Neder, Shvua is more Chamur than Neder, the Asur Midaraisa. So that's what it means, the Chumrah of Shvua over Nedarim. The Nakat Le La Hashas Lahai Peruka Ali B'de Ravina. The reason why this answer of Shas was going according to Ravina, Mishum de Kushta de Milsa Kvasehi, because in the end we paskin like him, the Bal Yachad de Masnisin de Rabbanan Kamar. Now, why don't we say the same thing on the flip side? The chumrah of nedarim over shvua, that it's chal on a dvar mitzvah. So there, it's chal by a neder, and it's not chal at all on a shvua. So how is that a chumrah? Vaha duloi daikina nami gabe chomer b'nedarmi b'shvuas miklal the shvua mia isa. That implies the shvua it is mishum deina chanami. The isa there is a degree of shvua when you swear not to do a mitzvah. What is it? The lucky ba mishum shvua shav. You're loika for shvua shav. Ela she'ena chala levatel sa mitzvah. Just it's not chal to be mevatel the mitzvah. Okay, we continue in the Gemara. So now the chumrah of shvua over Nedarim is that it's chal and davar she'ein by mamish, namely I'm sorry. The chumrah of shvua over nedarim is that it's chal on davar shem by mamish. By nedarim, it's only chal midrabanan. And the chumrah of nedarim over shvua is that a neder is chal on a dvar mitzvah. Shvua is not chal, but you're still loike for shvua shav. Okay. Now the Mishnah said chomer b'nedarim mi b'shvuas ketzad. What is a chumrah of nedarim over shvuais? The chumrah is if you say sukkah sha'ani oiseh, lulav sha'ani noitel. So the halacha is it's mutter because you can't swear to be mavato mitzvah. Rav Kahana masni Rav Gidal Amarav. Rav Kahana taught that Rav Gidal Amarav said. Rav Gidal said the name of Rav. Rav Tavyomi masni. Rav Tavyomi taught Rav Gidal Amar Shmuel. Minayin she'ein nishban la'avar ala mitzvah. How do we know one cannot swear to violate a mitzvah? Talmud loymer lo yachel devarai. You know how we know that you cannot swear, meaning the shua is not chal to be mevato mitzvah? It says lo yachel devarai. Devarai lo yachel. That's mashma. Your word you can't profane. Devarai lo yachel. Aval mechal hu l'cheftzei shamayim. But if you could profane it for the sake of heaven. We darshan from lo yachel devarai that you can't make your word profane, but if it's not your word, but it's the word of Shamayim, so then the word of Shamayim will have precedence. Says the Ran, Aval mechal hu l'cheftzei shamayim, im yesh b'shvuasai bittul cheftzei shamayim, if your shvua will contain a nullification of the needs of heaven, mechal shvuasai, then you break your shvua. So the Gemara asks, Maishna neder. Why is a neder different? That we say by neder, you would have to keep the neder, even though there's a biblical obligation to fulfill the mitzvah. Why is it that a neder is chal on a dvar shamayim? Why do we say a neder is chal on a dvar shamayim? Well, because the chsav ish ki yidar neder Hashem lo yachal devarai. A man who make a neder to Hashem, that even though the neder is to Hashem, still lo yachal devarai. So why don't we say the same thing by shvua? Shvua nami haksiv oy hishava shvua lashem lo yachal devarai. It says, or if he swears a shvua to Hashem, don't break your word. The same way we darshan, ish ki yidar neder Lashem, that when it's a neder Lashem, lo yachel devarai, then you can't break your word, meaning that even when it's a neder Lashem, lo yachel devarai, why don't we say the same thing? Shvua nami, it says, o yishava shvua Lashem, lo yachel devarai. What is the meaning of this? The meaning, the same way a neder supersedes the dvar Hashem. Why don't we say the same thing for a shvua? Says the Ran, La Hashem lo yachel devarai, afilu yesh benidroi bito mitzvahs Hashem lo yachel, shvua nami, haksivo hishava, da La Hashem koi nami, oya hishava shvua. It says, ish ki yidar neder La Hashem oy hishava shvua. So the La Hashem could be going on neder and shvua. So why do we say that you can't swear to be mavatel a mitzvah? Amar Abaye. Abaye said, Hada Amar Hana Sukkah alai. Here he says, the pleasure of the sukkah upon me. So therefore, he's answering the sukkah. Hada Amar Shvua Shalai Ahana Mina Sukkah. But when he swears, he's swearing he's not going to get Hana from the sukkah. So let's think about it. If he says, I'm not going to get Hana from the sukkah, the guy is the one who has to sit in the sukkah. So if he asers the sukkah, so then even though he has to sit in the sukkah, but the sukkah is aser to him, so then the neder is chal. But if he swears that he's not going to get hana, he can't swear that because he has to go sit in the sukkah. Basically, the difference is that if he's asering the sukkah, so then he won't be able to sit in the sukkah, because even though he has to sit in the sukkah, but the sukkah as an item is aser. But if he is basically saying that he is aser to sit in the sukkah, but he has to sit in the sukkah. Again, Amar Abaye, Hada Amar Hana Sukkah alai. Abaye neder, it's chal because he's answering the hana of the sukkah upon him. Hada amar shvua shelo yahanim min sukkah. Here he says, he takes an oath, he's not going to get hana from the sukkah. Let's see the Ran. Hada amar hana sukkah alai, hada amar shvua shelo yahanim min sukkah. Koloimar, svarahu, there's a logic. The Lashem lo ikoya shvua. Lashem is not going on a shvua, it's going on neder. Ella akiyid or neder. Why? Why is it logical that a neder could be chal on a dvar mitzvah and a shvua not? Mishum the neder bedinu sheyachal dvar mitzvah. A neder, it's logical it should go on a dvar mitzvah. Lefi shehu oiser al atzmai, because he asers on himself hanoah sukkah. Nahanoah of a sukkah. Shalosho neder kachu. The lashon of a neder is such. So it's logical that if he takes a neder to get, not to get hana, if he takes the neder, not to get hana from the sukkah, he can't go into the sukkah because he's answering on himself the hana of a sukkah. And now in machil and son davar asar lo, we're not going to feed somebody something that's asar to him. Avaloshan shavua. You see, if he asers that's the sukkah, then we won't let him go into it. The sukkah is asar to him. But if he says a lashon of a shvua, shaloi eshev b'sukkah, he can't say I'm not going to sit in the sukkah. He has to sit in the sukkah. V'loi kol hemna lafke atzay mitzvah sukkah shehu mitzuva ba.
Is he answering a specific sukkah or all sukkahs that are built around, like wherever he would go?
Is he answering a specific sukkah or is he answering any sukkah? Look, he doesn't say which sukkah he's answering. That sort of lends itself to make you think that he's answering all sukkahs, right? So can he create an Isser Chefza on every sukkah in the world? You're asking God. Not sure. Very good question. Why don't we say the asay of sukkah is doiche the lois asay of the neder? That's a big topic. Well, that's a very big topic. Maybe we'll do that in the Eon share. Is violating a neder only a lav? That's going to be the question. Is violating a neder only a lav? Is it only lo yachel devarai? Or is it, I'll tell you a little secret. You know this topic I'm doing on Friday called Pesachenu Megadim, connecting the beginning of the parsha to the end of the parsha. What originally made me think of the whole thing is in Parshas Matos, which talks about Nedarim in the beginning, it ends off with the episode of Bnei Gad and Bnei Eruvin. So the Ibn Ezra says, what's that doing there? He says, because Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, V'hayotzei mi piv taseh, whatever comes out of your mouth, you should do. And that's the subject of the beginning of the parsha, K'chol hayotzei mi piv taseh, which is an aseh. So that made me think that something that comes at the end of the parsha has to be connected to the beginning of the parsha. But anyway, so there's more than just a lav not to violate a neder. The question really is that a real asay? Is there an asay, a mitzvah d'oraisa, to follow your word? Okay. So, but a lashon of shua of shaloi eshev b'sukkah loy kal hemna lafkia atzim mitzvah sukkah shu mitzvah ba. You don't have the capacity to do that. You're a mitzvah. You could aser the sukkah, but you can't aser yourself from sitting in the sukkah. You have to sit in the sukkah. So now the Abai has Rava has a kasha. Amar Rava v'chi mitzvahs lehanos nitnu. Our mitzvah is given for hana. What's the question? V'chi mitzvahs lehanos nitnu. It says around Rava lava tamid Abai maksha. Rava is not arguing on Abai's logic. Devadei shaper kamar. Abai is saying a very logical split. Why a neder is chal on a dvar mitzvah and a shvua is not chal? What he's asking on is, he's asking on the word choice of Abaye. Ela alishna da Abaye. The Amar Hana Sukkah alai, if he says the Hana of a Sukkah on me, then let him sit in it, right? If the Lashon he's using is Hana Sukkah alai, he should still be able to sit in the Sukkah. Why? Because sitting in a Sukkah is not Hana, because Mitzvah Slav Lehenesnenu. Not that he's arguing on the logic of Abaye. Abaye's logic is sound. There's a difference between a Neder and a Shvua. But the Lashon used that Hana Sukkah alai, but that's not called Hana. What Hana? What Hana are you getting?
Sitting in a sukkah.
That's not Hana.
The protection of the sukkah, otherwise you'd be out in the elements. You're sitting in a sukkah, you're getting Hana.
That's not called Hana. You're saying...
It's not called Hana, but there is Hana.
You're saying there's side Hana. There's incidental Hana. Is that true? I mean, we know that mitzvos lav lehenos nitnu, and therefore, if you make an eder ta'aser a dvar mitzvah, you're allowed to do it. What about the incidental hana? We always say incidental hana is not sort of reckoned. Okay. Amar Rava said, no, a little bit of a tweak of the language. Hada Amar Yeshiva Sukkah Alai. Here he said the sitting of the Sukkah Ami. V'Hada Amar Shvua Shalai Eshev Sukkah. And here he said, oath that I'm not going to sit in the Sukkah. Meaning, it's instead of using the lashon of Hanas Sukkah Alai, it's a Yeshiva Sukkah Alai. Okay, so now the Gemara asks a bamba. What's the makar that ein nishban levatos hamitzvah lo yachel devarai einoi meyachel aval meichel hu lecheftzei shemayim. In fact, the Gemara v'she'ein nishban laber al mitzvah yachal nafkalei. This is where we learn out that you don't swear to violate a mitzvah. Mehasam nafkalei. It's learned out from over there. The time we learned in Brayso yachel nishba levatos hamitzvah. I would think if somebody swore to me vato mitzvah, v'loy bitel yachal yichayev, I would think you're over on bal yachal devarai, meaning that I would think you're over bal yachal devarai, namely that the shvua is chal. Talmud loymar, therefore it says lahara oy lahetiv, to do bad or to do good. To do bad means that I'm not going to do something. To do good means I am going to do something. Ma hatava rishus, just like the to do good, we have drashos refers to something discretionary. That's good. Af hara rishus. So too, the bad is discretionary. Yatsa nishba levatel mitzvah. That excludes someone who swears to be mevatel mitzvah. V'loy bitel she'ena rishus biyadai. Someone who swears to be mevatel mitzvah and he's not, where he doesn't have the rishus not to. So he doesn't have the right to violate the commandment. So that's the source that a shvua levatos mitzvah is not chal. So Gemara says, no, that's the source that you're not chayiv a carbon. But how do I know it's not chal? That I know it's not chal from la yachal devarai. Chad kra lemifter mikarbon, one pasuk to exempt him from a carbon. Mechad kra lemifter mikarbon shvua. The pasuk lahara lahetiv exempts you from a carbon. The chad lemifterim and lav deshva, and one says you're not even over the lav because it's not even chal. The obvious question is that once I have lo yachal devare that it's not chal, obviously you're not chayiv a carbon, right? In other words, if I just had that you're not chayiv a carbon, I wouldn't know that it's not chal. But once I know it's not chal, then obviously not only is it not chal, I'm not chayiv a carbon either. But that the achronim deal with that question. In other words, why do I need both? Why can't I just learn out from la yachal devare that's not chal, and obviously you're not over a lav, and you're not chayiv a shvua. Okay, Rabbi said we're going to hold it over here. Next week I have a different schedule. I'm not going to be here Monday and Tuesday, so we'll see when we're going to do Daf Yud Zayin. Maybe some other time, Matzah Shabbos, or we'll find the time. We have to tweak next week's schedule, okay? Shkoyach. Hatzlacha Rabbah.
The article brings down that question.
Then it must be a good question. Actually, that's where I'm going. Art Scroll every 7 years has a special Shabbos. And I'm speaking at the Art Scroll Shabbos in the special Trump Doral Hotel. And the topic of my drasha is the role of Art Scroll in the history and destiny of the Jewish people. And I have to come up with something good to say by Friday. So pray for me. Okay. What do you say about Art Scroll? Do you have any good Art Scroll stories?